Alright, so welcome to this introduction to the Seeds of Change model of Thich Nhat, the great Buddhist teacher and monk and peace activist, who really made this model known worldwide, and lots of people started working with it, including we at Easy Day, and we introduce it to thousands of people really over the years. And yeah, I think it's really helpful, or it can be very helpful. It's a model, so it's just a theory, a concept, and I think it's not the real thing, but it's trying to speak about real life, no? And I think it can be very helpful, but if you don't find it helpful, then forget about it again, okay? But the invitation is to experiment with this model that I'm going to introduce now. And the model works with the energy of awareness or mindfulness, conscious presence. It's kind of the key to this model, and the model is looking at how we can work with emotions and feelings that we experience, and especially how can we work with difficult thoughts and feelings that arise in us, and how can we strengthen the positive, wholesome thoughts and feelings that we have. And Thich Nhat says we really need to learn to strengthen our conscious presence or awareness in order to do that. And the model is using the analogy of a garden and a gardener. So before we start, I want to invite the bell of mindfulness, and listening to the bell, you simply put your attention on your in-breath and on your out-breath. Like that, you bring your mind back to the body and to the present moment. So the seeds of change, we're looking at a human being, okay? And this circle represents a living human being. It represents consciousness. And this is a more simplified version, and we divide consciousness into mind, consciousness, and store consciousness. So store consciousness is kind of the garden in which it's like the soil in the garden where all seeds are present in the form of a potential. All possible feelings, thoughts and phenomena that can arise in consciousness are present always, according to this theory, in the form of a seed as a potential. So there are seeds, unwholesome seeds and wholesome seeds. So the unwholesome seeds, for example, the seed of pain or of anger or of jealousy or restlessness, yeah? And then there are also wholesome seeds. For example, the seeds of joy, peacefulness, kindness, happiness. And when, for example, right now, nobody here feels angry. And that doesn't mean that anger isn't there. So anger is still there, but in the form of a seed, in the form of a potential. And when anger, the seed of anger is watered through either the things we perceive in the environment. For example, somebody says something to you or accuses you wrongfully or whatever, or a thought comes up in the mind, memory of a scene where something really, well, of a situation that makes you upset or angry, then that waters this seed of this unwholesome seed, in this case of anger, and it manifests and grows up into mind consciousness. So mind consciousness is kind of the experiential space, yeah? It's like your living room. It's what you experience in the present moment. And the question is, what do we do when this emotion of anger, could also be jealousy or fear, manifest, okay? And Thich Nhat says that it's very important to learn how to deal with these difficult feelings, and that there's a way that we can learn to transform these seeds within our consciousness, yeah? We received these seeds, they're quite an impersonal thing when we are born, and they were already developed by all of the ancestors that we've had, yeah? So thoughts and feelings, they're not such an individual thing. We all have the potential to experience all kinds of seeds and states of feelings, from depression to the greatest joy. The whole breadth of experiences is available to us, and it depends very much on our ancestors and our living, the conditions of our life, which seeds have been kind of developed or strengthened in our consciousness. So when a difficult emotion comes up, say fear, Thich Nhat Hanh says, then the best thing to do is to become aware that this is manifesting right now in you. And you invite this seed to come up, this wholesome seed, the seed of mindfulness. You can also call it conscious presence. You're simply aware to what is going on in you at every moment. And if you can be aware, then you have the opportunity to rather act out this feeling and emotion, for example, to accuse someone or to fight back or to run away. Sometimes it's good to run away, but yeah, so you have a possibility then to really meet this feeling and to use it to your own advantage. What we very often do is we project the way we feel to our environment. to other people who may have caused the way we feel in that moment, yeah? So if, for example, your girlfriend or boyfriend goes off with someone else and some thoughts come in you and you perceive a certain thing happening there maybe, or you imagine something and you start to feel really upset or really afraid or really jealous, then you might tend to blaming, yeah, making responsible your girlfriend or boyfriend, okay, for how you feel right now. And so the first step is to not do that, but to always own the way you feel and the way you think. Yeah, to take ownership of that and to learn to be responsible for your own state of mind. That's really what responsibility means. To be responsible is to be responsible for your own state of mind. And it's really also the wisest thing you can do, because if you project it away and you put yourself into the role of a victim, then you're powerless. You cannot do anything about it, yeah? About the immediate experience of what's happening. And of course there are kind of, when a child, for example, is very small, it can easily be a victim to its environment, okay? But once we are grown up and adult, then you really have an opportunity to take responsibility for how you think and feel and experience life. And so you don't project it, you own that feeling. And then, as for example, a difficult feeling comes up, you immediately become aware of it. For example, anger grows up, you feel it coming, okay? So you already see you're not that anger essentially, yeah? Because anger comes and goes. Every feeling, every emotion comes and goes. Nothing is permanent, okay? So it manifests and then it will go back down. And Thich Nhat says, if you are able to, while this feeling is here, if you are able to embrace it with your mindfulness, with your consciousness, with your awareness, then this awareness is very, very powerful. It has the power to penetrate into that feeling, into that emotion, and he says you hold it like a mother holds a crying baby, and you soothe it. So you don't try to push it away. You don't try to get rid of it. What you do is you see it come, and you see it's not you, essentially. It manifests in you, as the whole world does manifest in you. And you allow it to be. You allow it to be there. Maybe you need to go for a walk or something in order to be with it. But you allow it to be, and you hold it. And after a while, it will go back down, back into store consciousness. And if you were able to embrace it mindfully, it will now have lost some of its energy, some of its potential, and it will rest down here again in a weaker way. And the next time it's watered, it will come up again, but already it has lost some of its energy, of its potential. And when the next time it happens, comes up, you can really appreciate that it comes up, because again you can do this work of transforming it simply by holding it. And like that, you, with all the different unwholesome seeds, you start to transform them. So this is how you really learn to be a good gardener of your own consciousness, okay? And before learning to be a good gardener for other people's consciousness, or maybe not before, but as you learn to be a good gardener of your consciousness, you also learn to be a good gardener of other people's consciousness. And so you can see it's not just a selfish work that you're doing, it's being wisely selfish. Because you can see that we are not just skin-bound entities. Like the flower, for example. As a human being with a human mind, we tend to look at the flower and see its shape, its color, and we think the flower exists in and out of itself somehow. But of course, this flower is connected to the rain, the clouds, the soil, the bacteria that live in the soil, the gardener who planted it, and the sunshine. So really this flower contains the whole cosmos in itself. And we too are like a flower or a tree or any other phenomena. We are not skin-bound entities. We are totally open systems. And I think with this kind of model, you can understand that very easily, how reflecting on yourself and your experience of life, how these seeds are expressing themselves and can be transformed. And so, yeah, so this one point I was making, I want to repeat, is that you can learn to take good care of the seeds in your own consciousness, okay? And to do that, you really need to strengthen the seed of mindfulness or conscious presence. Mindfulness. And so in good times, when life is flowing well for you, it's not a time to be just lazy, but to also practice. And how do you strengthen the seed? Is, for example, by paying attention to your in-breath and to your out-breath. Yeah? So you're really learning to be here. Every aware in-breath, every aware out-breath strengthens and grows this capacity in you of being present to what emerges in the moment. Yeah? And your breath is always there, and it's very impersonal. So it's flowing automatically. Also, the sense of being or presence, if you're aware of that in yourself, it's a little bit more subtle than your breathing. That is strengthening your seed of awareness. And then when difficult moments arise in your life, you are able to be with it and to do this inner work of transformation. Okay? And then on the other hand, for example, if a wholesome feeling or emotion is watered and expresses itself up here in your experience, for example, joy arises, then again, you're aware of it, you invite the seed of mindfulness to come up with it, and you're aware, you're conscious of it, and again you embrace it. Its destiny too is that it's impermanent and it will leave again, it will go back down into the kind of soil of your garden of consciousness, to store consciousness. But if you were able to hold it, then this will win in its potential, so it gets strengthened. Yeah? Whereas the unwholesome ones naturally get weakened by being mindful of them, the wholesome ones get stronger and fuller. And it's very important to also nourish your wholesome seeds. It's not enough to only suffer. It's very important to recognize the good qualities of life within yourself and in your environment. Whether it's a beautiful flower, or the smile of a child, or the blue sky, there are always lots of reasons and opportunities to recognize the beauty of consciousness and the beauty of life. And I think this is why Thich Nhat sometimes speaks of the miracle of mindfulness. And it's exactly because mindfulness is the key to weaken your difficult states and to strengthen the beautiful aspects and qualities in ourselves. And our modern society, culture, does everything to suppress these unwholesome thoughts and feelings. We don't like them anyway, okay? Because it doesn't feel good. It kind of puts your, like, also modern neuroscience speaks about the molecules of emotion. So they're like, can't remember how they're called, peptides or something, that are released into your bloodstream, and every kind of feeling has its specific key. And there are cells in our body, receptor cells, that are like the keyhole to that key. And when this kind of molecule comes along, the key, and it finds its keyhole, for example, the feeling of anger, it creates a vibration. It goes into the keyhole and it puts you into a bad vibe, yeah? And it can make you sick. Literally, it can make you physically sick. If you're very anxious, for example, too much anxiety can make you, or too much restlessness, yeah? And it puts your whole kind of body into a bad vibration, into a bad state. And the other way around, good vibes, good feelings and emotions. Our modern world culture, with all the things we consume, constantly, we quite unconsciously keep suppressing the unwholesome aspects of within ourselves, and that's not very wise. Thich Nhat Hanh says it's very important to allow a good kind of circulation of all of these states. It's like the bloodstream. When there's a clot, a blockage, then you get ill. Yeah. So it's very important that the seeds you have in you, that you inherited and that were already nourished in different ways through love and through all sorts of life experiences, that we allow them to express themselves. We allow them to come up. And for example, as soon as you have a moment, a free moment, and you put on the television, or you go on the internet, or you read a book, or you eat some food, or you call a friend. So we never really, or few of us really, give space for these things to be able to come up. Yeah, they need some space. So it's very wise, therefore, to be in retreat, or to sit for half an hour or an hour every day, just quietly, and just allow yourself to be empty, and you will see what kind of thoughts come up, what kind of feelings come up. Thoughts and feelings are very connected. Yeah? In Buddhism, they are called mental formations. Feelings are called mental formations. So you can already see it's very much how you perceive, and then something happens on the level of your body. So for example, going on a wilderness retreat like you did a couple of days ago, yesterday, and you just spent 4 hours sitting in nature without distractions, is a very healthy and very wise thing to do, because maybe one of these comes up and then you have the opportunity to be with that and to do this work of change. And this is really how our culture changes at the base. It's really how, like with how you can take responsibility for the collective state of our society in the most effective way. So if you know how to be happy, that means you know how to take care of your garden of consciousness. And it also means that you know how to take care of the garden of consciousness of others. So if you're, for example, a business leader or a teacher at school, you understand how important it is to empower the people you work with, or your students, or your pupils, how they themselves can take care of their own garden. So not only will you find skillful ways to nourish the wholesome seeds in them, how to create beauty in them, how to teach them to really be seen and listen to nature and the good things in life. You also know and can help them how to take care of the difficult thoughts and feelings that arise in life. And you can, for example, guide them to perceive that they're not essentially their thoughts and feelings, that they're the awareness that is behind that. And so many young people are driven into not knowing that, are driven into suicide, to depressions, to confusion, because we don't really know, or they don't really know who they are. So yeah, if we are talking about living in a world that's sustainable, that respects nature, that respects other animals, that respects other beings, people, and respects yourself, I think this model can bring us there, or help us grow, because it's really simple. And as you start to work with it, and as you start to strengthen your own conscious presence, the more easy it will get, and the more clear it will get, and the more beneficial you are to your colleagues or your students or your family, yeah, and yourself. Okay, that's how we can really bring wisdom into our lives and into this world. Wisdom and peace and well-being and joy. We understand the interbeingness, the interconnectedness, the interrelatedness, the unity of life. Good. So we'll leave it there, and we'll close with the sound of the bell. Also brought this photo of Thich, Nhat. If you don't know him yet, check out his work and his teachings. You will find a lot on YouTube, for example, and he's written over 100 books, including a very good book on this model called Understanding Our Mind, written in 2006. I'm gonna write down the name here. So that's a book that really just speaks and explores this model in greater depth. Okay. Good. We'll close with the mindfulness. So again, bring your attention to your in-breath and your out-breath, strengthening your conscious presence.